Welcome to another Airbrush Asylum video. This is part 2 of the Tassie Devil tutorial tribute to Mike Lavallee. If you haven't already, go check out part 1 and that'll show you how I got up to this stage within the artwork. So I'm just adding the Spanish gold KANDY onto the layer of fire that I just completed. You can see how much that's really popping now. Now the Spanish gold's a House of Color KANDY. And I'm trying to aim it pretty much just at the layer that I've completed. So you can see a bit of that overspray. I'm going to fix that with a tack rag in a minute. But I'm also dusting that KANDY over the areas of the Tassie Devil, just to give the devil a bit more of a fiery appearance and make a few more of those colours really pop. So after allowing the Spanish gold to dry for a bit, I then tack rag it to remove any of that overspray. And you can see here I've also added in a Tangerine KANDY. Apologies for not filming this particular part in it. But very similar to what I did before. You can see I've hit some of the edges with that Tangerine and over the body area where it meets the yellow. Now using a SG100 Intercoat Clear by House of Color, I'm spraying over the entire body and fire. So everything that I've hit with the KANDY. And now I'm switching to transparent black. This is transparent base mixed with black, and this is Trident airbrush paint. So all my colours are reduced to my liking, so just basically go with whatever suits your style of airbrushing and whatever paint product you're using, and also the level of control that you have with the airbrush. So I'm using this transparent black really to further detail everything and to start to get some of that dark shading into the Tassie Devil. So I'm really taking my time now to pull out all of those real sharp defined details and add in all the shading that's necessary to make the artwork pop. So I'm really following my reference and only adding in gradual shading as necessary. So don't overdo it. But you can see I'm up nice and close where I need to be to get that real sharp defined edge. If you struggle with that, then by all means grab the paper template or a freehand template like I'm doing here. The template that I'm using at the moment is one of the templates out of my Fire Tool template set. So I designed this set of templates and AirShot stencils manufactures them for me. If you're interested in that product and any other products that I'm using in this video, I'll have some links in the description below, so go check that out. So more and more dagger strokes to build up the fur. So the template that I'm using at the moment to build some of that texture is the Texture Effects 2 template made by Art Tool. And this template is designed by Gerald Mendez. So adding a bit of stippling detail, just freehand with the airbrush, so up nice and close, pulling back on that trigger and sort of bouncing around with my brush to create that effect. Using that black to render the ears as well. Add shading and some texturing in there to really make them pop. So I do hope that you're enjoying watching this video so far. If this is the first time watching one of our videos, then welcome. For all of our regular viewers, welcome back. And if you do like it, by all means, give it the thumbs up, share it out, and let's build this airbrushing community together. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. Tap on that bell icon, that'll notify you every time I put out new content so that you don't miss out on a new upload. So I'm going to use that transparent black now to start to really detail the eye. So again, up nice and close, and I'm moving with the airbrush to create a nice fine sharp shadow, obviously following the shape of the eye. You want to be pretty accurate with this. If you don't have the control with the airbrush, then grab yourself a template. So you can see I've added in a little bit of shading to start to really define that eye, but I'm not totally finished with it yet. I'll come back to that section. Just adding some more rendering to the front area around the nose. A bit more stippling. So again, revisiting that eye now, a bit more shading, finishing off that top shadow and adding in the pupil. Now I want to start adding some highlights in. This is white, Trident airbrush paint. Starting off with the tongue and just hitting some of those real white highlights in the tongue. Nice and sharp where I want them to be really bright, and then sort of a bit softer where I want them to taper off, and that will also create a curve if necessary. Also adding in a little bit of the texturing as I go using this white, so I want to vary my strokes, don't want to just do one particular style all the way through. Adding some white highlights to the teeth. I'm not covering them totally. As you can see, I'm pulling out defined highlights just to really give them some shape. So a nice bright white highlight in the eye. Up nice and close, carefully pulling back on that trigger and building up that tone. Not trying to hit it in one hit. Also adding a softer white highlight to the right side of that eye, just to give it a bit more shape. So now adding some highlights to the fire. So using the freehand template there, the shield, holding it on one edge and spraying carefully to brighten up that lick of the fire. So very similar technique as what I did earlier. I'm just only hitting those real defined hot spots now. So kind of focusing in more on one area and building that brightness on the top part of that fire, the hottest part of the flame. Now that I've hit that with some white, I'm going to come back in with the Spanish gold. And again, just focusing on the areas that have been highlighted, except I'm not going over all of the fire. I'm leaving a little bit of that white showing, so allowing my overspray to sort of blend back into my previous layer. And I'm also using the Spanish gold on the actual Tassie Devil, rendering in the eye and brightening up some of those areas of the fur, especially on the edges, and dusting over some of the highlights that I just completed, some of those dagger highlights, and in the nose area. So anything that just needs to be sort of, the brightness needs to punch up a little bit after doing those highlights, that's what I'm using this KANDY for. And now coming in with the Tangerine KANDY, I'm pretty much going to do the same. I'm going to merge the KANDY and let that flow into the yellow that I just completed. Sorry, the Spanish gold that I just completed. So you can see how that overspray is blending in nicely with it. And then I'm also using that KANDY, the Tangerine, over the body of the Tassie Devil. So after letting those candies dry for a bit, I then gave it a quick tack rag, and using the SG100 Intercoat Clear, I'm sealing off the layer of candy, and that way I can work back on top of it. So now I'm going to be coming in with black House of Colour, so mixed with their reducer. So this being just a regular black, it's going to have a bit more depth to it than the transparent black that I used earlier, but it also allows for that sort of transition. So the transparent black becomes my first stage, whereas this black now I'm further deepening my shadows, really getting some of those sharper defined details into the Tassie Devil. And this will really help to shape the artwork even more. Okay, so now I want to clean up some of the overspray. So I've grabbed a positive template, one of the paper templates that I cut. And I'm using Trident black because this is the actual black that I use to base the half tank. So that way I know it's completely accurate. And I'm just holding that template into place and then spraying around to sharpen up the teeth and any other areas that need cleaning up. Also using that black and just cleaning up around some of the fire. So now I'll switch back to Trident white and I'm going to start to add a bit of drool coming off the teeth. So I'm just going to do this freehand, link it up with the tongue. So using that white to add in some of the devil's whiskers. So just real fine, sharp lines. So I keep the airbrush moving really quickly to get that real fine, detailed stroke. Now I wasn't overly happy with the drool. I reckon I can do better, so I've just grabbed my template again, temporarily masked off the teeth, and I'm just freehanding out that part of the drool that I don't really like. You can see how easy that's removed. And now I'm just going to airbrush a bit more drool and hopefully do a better job this time. So a couple of spots that I want to define a little bit more, so just sharpening those up again with the House of Colour Black. Still making sure to add texture into it, not just spraying over the top and giving a flat tone. A few darker shadows in the mouth there. So very, very careful, especially when using black. So a couple of highlights, a few more in the drool there, using white. They're just up nice and close, getting a bit of those wet spots on the tongue, and further detailing that drool, and re-highlighting after the slight bit of shading was added. And here's a shot of the Tassie Devil artwork all complete. This is obviously before 2-pack clear. You can really see all the detail. Those layers are KANDY, the KANDY colours that are really popping. That's really going to come to life once the clear hits it. Okay, here's a quick shot of the artwork all clear coated. This is not flow coated, so I still need to flow coat this, but you can see how much more depth that clear has given the artwork. And all the colours, the KANDY colours are really popping now. Up nice and close, checking out that drool, the mouth, detailing in the fur, and obviously the fire. I hope you enjoyed checking out this video tutorial. Be sure to take a look at some of the other videos and playlists that I've got listed here. And until next time, go grab your airbrush, do some amazing artwork yourself, and I'll see you again very, very soon in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.